Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Town Council for Yucca Valley on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. It's just about 6 o'clock and we want to get started, so let's have our call to order, please.
Council members Abel.
Here.
Dennison.
Here.
Droz. Schooler.
Here.
And Mayor Lombardo.
Here.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Droz is out excused this evening. He is not feeling well.
Okay. Sorry to hear that. Hope he has a speedy recovery. Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Councilmember Abel, and we are going to stay standing after the pledge for an invocation led by Pastor Jake Swatter from the Valley Community Chapel. So please rise.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Pastor.
Heavenly Father, this evening we thank you first for this great nation that you've blessed us with. And Lord, for this incredible community that we each get to call home. And tonight, as this council is gathered together to work through the business of managing a town, Father, I pray that you would bless them with wisdom and understanding in each and every decision that's made, each conversation that is brought forth tonight. And Lord, above all else, we ask that you would be glorified. The God who is above all and in all, we ask that you would be pleased by the way we conduct your business in this earth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please be seated, and we'll get started. We're going to start with presentations, introductions, and recognitions, and we have some new employees to introduce.
Yes, Mayor and Council. We have a new employee at the museum, and to make the introduction, I'd like to invite up Supervisor Celeste Hildebrand.
Good evening. It is with great pleasure that I'm here tonight to introduce our newest staff member, Renelle Tuthill. With this appointment, our museum is now fully staffed, which we're really happy to report. Renelle is a lifelong resident of the Morongo Basin and a graduate of Yucca Valley High School. She has an extensive background in the customer service field, as well as a passion for learning about the flora and fauna of the high desert. Outside of her work life, Renelle is an avid hiker and yoga practitioner, and the museum is excited to welcome her to the town of Yucca Valley and to the High Desert Nature Museum. So this is Miss Renelle Tuthill.
Good evening. I am so honored and excited to be working at the museum. It's been a dream for a long time. So thank you for having me.
All righty. Let's have approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda as prepared.
Second.
We have an approval in a second.
Council members Abel.
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Lombardo.
Yes. All righty. Moving on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters of formal documents covered previous town council instruction. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussion unless a member of the town council or the town staff requests dialogue of a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comments on the consent agenda items should be filed with the town clerk, and there's little forms by the table there. Is there anybody that wishes to comment on any of the consent agenda items? Seeing none, let's go.
Mayor, I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Dennison will second.
Okay, approval in second.
Council members Abel.
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
Mayor Lombardo.
Yes, and that was items 2 through 4. Now moving on to department reports. We have The Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District Agency update.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's my privilege this evening to introduce Mr. Brad Porres, Executive Director from the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District, to come up, provide an update not only to the council but to the public as well about some of the activities. Just as a reminder, the town of Yucca Valley is one of the member agencies of the Mojave Desert AQMD since about 1993. And is active participant in the monthly board meetings and the actions that take place at the district. So with that, Brad, turn it over to you. Welcome. Thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you, Curtis, and it's a pleasure to be invited to speak. You know, for a regulatory agency, we don't get invited into towns' homes to talk about the wonderful things we do in air quality, but it's a pleasure to be here. We do have two of my board members that represent the town here, Member Abel and Member Schooler. They're both wonderful board members that I have, and thank you. They really take a vested interest on behalf of the town and are very engaged in all of our board meetings and all the issues that we face here at the Air District. So I'm going to give you kind of pretty much just a grand overview of what our agency does and what these two gentlemen do on behalf of the town and the issues that we're dealing with air quality. Again, I'm Brad Porres. I'm the Executive Director for Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District. Been there for about 7.5 years. Prior to that, I was the APCO down in Imperial County in El Centro, California for about 22 years. So I've got about 30 years in the air quality realm. So we're going to kick this off, and however you would appreciate it. If you'd like to ask me questions along the way, feel free. It's kind of open dialogue as we go through here, or you can wait till the end if you choose. Anything you guys like, what makes it easier for you. So we are a regional air pollution control district. There's several different districts I'll get into, sizing and boundaries and jurisdictions throughout the state of California. But we are a regional air pollution control district, and we do things that are non-vehicular related, emissions non-vehicular and in ambient, not indoor, outdoor. We're an independent special district. We're a corporate body, political and public entity of the state. We're a regulatory agency first and foremost. We're a health-based regulatory agency. We do have the authority to set rules and regulations to achieve air quality, national ambient air quality standards, and we're required to do so, such acts as necessary and proper to execute the powers and authorities and duties imposed upon us by state law and federal law. So this is the hierarchy, if you will. Who do we report to? You can see us, we're that little local air district way down at the bottom. So we have two different agencies and a federal Clean Air Act that a lot of people have probably heard a lot about. So we have our state oversight agency, which is the California Air Resources Board, located in Sacramento. And then we have the US EPA, Region 9, which is located out of San Francisco. And we're implementing the federal Clean Air Act, but we also implement the California Clean Air Act. And we implement our own rules and regulations, which I'll get into a little bit here. So here's a diagram of our jurisdiction as well as the whole state of California. Like I said earlier, there's 35 air districts that are broken up into large, medium, and small size air districts. We're a medium size air district. There's 5 large, 8 medium, and I believe that leaves us with 22 rural small air districts. And our jurisdiction is, we kind of that subset out is Mojave Desert Air Quality Air Basin. So a little bit of information about our district. Again, I mentioned that we have the authority to regulate stationary sources, and I'll go into examples of that. Geographically, we're the second largest air district in all of California, covering more than 20,000 square miles. So that's a massive amount of land to try to cover. We go all the way up to Trona, all the way over to Needles and Blythe, all the way out to getting close to the Antelope Valley, and all the way down to the Cajon Pass. So it's quite the area for the amount of staff and resources that we have. We permit 1,450, I think that's gone up now, it's probably about 1,550 permitted facilities, 4,700 active permits, and the population we serve is roughly 600,000. And I believe here in Yucca in Yucca Valley. We have approximately 64 permits, and I kind of broke those down here in my notes. One each for like abrasive blasting, a dry cleaner, concrete batch plant, wastewater treatment facility, 21 emergency generators. Those are the diesel combustion generators that a hospital will have, or communications will have, a fire station will have, a sheriff's station. So if they lose power, they have essential services. So we permit those engines. 12 retail gasoline stations up here that we permit, 5 non-retail gasoline stations, 12 automotive spray booths, and roughly 6 or so other tank permits, like 3 propane. You have 3 propane facilities that we permit those propane storage tanks. So that gives you an idea. Out of those numbers right there, out of 4,700 active permits, about 64 of those are here in Yucca Valley. All right, I went too far there. So again, this is our jurisdiction. Kind of, you can see how large that 20,000 square mile is. And a lot of people may not have heard of Trona, but it is up there. And a lot of people can't believe we go all the way down to Blythe. It's actually closer to Imperial County's APCD, their offices, than it is from ours. This is a picture of our current governing board. 13 board members all work really well together for the same mission. They leave their town and city politics at the door when they come in, and they're making decisions that affect our whole jurisdiction. They work very well together. This is a little tough to see. This is our organizational chart. We have roughly 40 FTE. That covers different sections of our organization. We have finance manager, we have human resources, we have grants, we have permit engineers, we have compliance, and we have planning and air monitoring. So a lot of sections and 40 people to cover that 40,000 or that 20,000 square miles. All right, air pollution in the Mojave Desert. So there's been several studies, and we've been in existence since we got incorporated in '93, broke off from the South Coast Air Quality Management District. It was actually called San Bernardino County Air Pollution Control District prior to that. And there's been a lot of studies that have demonstrated that the majority of our air pollution problems that we face in the high desert is overwhelmingly from mobile emissions and transport. We have the 15 corridor that goes right up through the center of our jurisdiction. We have rail lines, we have airports, we have a lot of topography and geography that forces emissions from the Inland Empire Basin and South Coast Basin to flow up into our area. So that's a tough thing to have to try to deal with, something that's coming into your area that you have no control over. As a result of that, we placed air monitors locating closest to the Cajon Pass to record the highest levels of pollutants that we have in our air district. And that's important because we can show the dispersion, how that gets lower as the pollution migrates to the north. The numbers get less and less. So you can tell at the border of our jurisdiction that's the highest. By the time it migrates up, it's getting less and less. So what that means is a lot of our stationary sources that we do permit up there aren't the bad contributors to our air quality. We regulate them, and they're our partners, and we work with them well so that they can do the business that they need to do, and we can enforce our health-based standards that we have at the air district. Okay, here we go. Challenges, planning challenges. You hear me mention Mojave Desert and South Coast, which is down the Inland Empire. So 60% of our emissions inventory, and I'll go into that a little bit later, is from commuters traveling in and out of our area. So it's mobile emissions. And if you remember what I said earlier, we have no control or jurisdiction over mobile emissions, only stationary sources. So that's a big hurdle and challenge for us to try to address when we write state implementation plans and have to get approval from the federal EPA. South Coast needs emission reductions wherever they can get them. They're extreme non-attainment pretty much for all pollutants are across the board, criteria pollutants. They're doing everything they can. They're the most stringent in the state. They're the most stringent in the country in terms of regulatory requirements, and they still need more. They're still not going to meet the existing timelines by which the EPA has set on them. So they need emission reductions, and if they can get their emission reductions down there, then it's not only is it wonderful for them, but it's positive for the high desert because I get the benefit of not so much being transported up into my area that I have to deal with. So we work closely with them on strategies and different things we can do together to try to address and come up with plans that will help us move towards attaining those goals that are set by the federal EPA. Some of the solutions here, and this is just a few, reduce commuter miles. There's about 85,000 people a day that commute from the high desert down into the Inland Empire and into LA. There's a 2 and 3.5 hour wait sometimes on the 15 just to get down the pass. So you have all those vehicles just sitting there idling or barely creeping and crawling, and all that pollution is just being saturated into our basin. A couple other things that we have is available workforce. We have plenty of workforce up in the high desert, but there's not enough high-paying jobs for them to stay up there. Just like anywhere else, that's why a lot of people commute somewhere else is to get to their a location that, or their work that is outside their town area. And then others would be poised for continued growth. We work with our planning agencies to try to assist them in smart growth and where they can assist us in making decisions to hopefully reduce the impacts of anticipated growth that's going to happen. Am I going too fast, or you want me to slow down or skip some stuff, or you're all good? Not asleep yet? Nobody's asleep yet? Okay. All right. And these are our air monitoring locations. Again, as I said, we're a regional air district, so we're required under the Federal Clean Air Act to strategically place regional monitors. They're called state, local, regional monitors to monitor for pollutants that we're non-attainment for. And currently, we're non-attainment for ozone and PM10. We're non-classified for PM2.5. Which, if you follow any of that kind of news, the EPA and the administrator just notified that they have finalized a reduction of the requirement for PM 2.5. The standard is going to go from 12 micrograms down to 9. That's a lot of science, I know. But what does that mean, really? That means the federal EPA and the state is going to have to make attainment designations. So just like I said, we're non-attainment for ozone, which is our most serious pollutant that we're non-attainment for. We're also moderate for PM10, particulate matter, 10 microns or smaller. I'm sorry, I use a lot of acronyms in my job, so that's what PM10 stands for. So with that, there's going to be a requirement to potentially do additional monitoring for a new pollutant if you go into non-attainment for that pollutant. Thankfully, our initial review of our monitoring data, we should squeak under it and be attainment for PM particulate matter 2.5. That's really, really, really small particulate matter that you really can't even see. To give you an idea, particulate matter 10 microns or smaller, that's about the width of a human hair, one single human hair. And so we have stations in Barstow, Hesperia, Lucerne, Trona, and Victorville. Each station to set one up costs about, just to set it up with the required equipment, is anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000 and about $150,000 to run it on an annual basis. So they're not cheap. But these are cheap. Anyone can get these today off the shelf. They're low-cost purple air sensors, and these are PM 2.5 sensors. We've had a program where we've given these out to school districts and other public entities to put up around our whole jurisdiction. Anyone that wants one, we try to get one out to them. There's some requirements. If we give it to you, you got to sign a disclosure, indemnification. Don't hold us if that sensor falls on your head or something. They're about the size of a coffee cup. But this is for 2.5 specifically. And these are roughly about $250. What it is real-time monitors. There's a website, Purple Air website. So once these are established, you need to have Wi-Fi and just regular 120-volt plug-in, have public Wi-Fi. And once you're on the network, then anyone can go into Purple Air and hit on one of those, or you could say hit on Yucca Valley and see where all the Purple Airs are. And you get real-time PM 2.5 data, what's going on right at that particular moment. So I know I think, let me see, I wrote down where we have a couple installed here right now. So we have placed one at Yucca Valley Elementary School and another at Black Canyon Ranger Station, just outside Joshua Tree. So we've given 2. We do have a few more. I'll get into another issue in a little bit. We're doing a campaign with some of the schools because it's a great science project for some of the schools so the kids can see. So we're trying to get that environmental awareness, and it's something that's very cheap. And if there's someone interested, if you have a school that's interested, if you have the town that wants to put one up, it's got to be secure too, right? You want to make sure that nobody's just going to go in there and steal it or mess with it and everything else. So there are some other things to consider. But if someone is interested and is a public agency or anyone, then we would try to provide you ones. We'll work with you to try to get one of those set up in your area. They are when we have enough availability. First, we go towards the public entities because you do have to sign a little contract saying you will run it under these terms and it's not your property. It's but the problem is some people, when it's private, they'll relocate. Our experience is in other areas, they'll relocate, they'll move that sensor from an appropriate place, and they might stick it right next to their barbecue or something else, and then it's going to inflate the numbers. So it skews the whole system, basically. So there's a lot more hoops you have to jump through as a private citizen. However, private citizen could go right onto their website and buy 1 or 2 or 3 for, I think they're down less than $200 now. So anyone can get one. But if you're getting one from us, we do have some requirements so that we're trying to get consistency across all the monitors that are out there. All right, particulate matter, 10 microns or smaller. This is just a pie chart, give you a quick idea of the contributions of our PM10. You can see the biggest is area fugitive dust. That's dust blowing off parcels. That's fugitive dust coming off roadways. That's fugitive dust that comes from, say, an entity that's doing some earth moving. So it's within the property. It's not the actual crushing or something like a concrete batch plant or something. It's the actual movement within the facility. Mineral processing is our other big one. We have 3 of the largest cement manufacturers in all the country are located in my area. So that's a type of mineral, plus we have other mineral processing as well. Construction, demolition. You'll see that a lot of people don't realize that paved roads, also have dust associated with them. And that's either from track out from construction sites or just mud coming off cars, dirt coming off cars, brake dust coming off vehicles. So those all contribute to that. And then you have other on-road and some other heavy duty. So that gives you just kind of a pictorial of the main sources of our particulate matter. So for all of Mojave Desert, it's not just for Yucca Valley. So we have more than 5,000 miles of roads that are within our jurisdiction that are unpaved. That's a lot of roadways. And I know you guys are going to talk about unpaved and paved and private and non-private dust from roads later today. Fugitive dust accounts for 60% of our fine particulate matter within our jurisdiction. So obviously we care about it, we're concerned about it. PM does have health impacts. PM10 and smaller can pass through your natural defenses and get lodged in your lungs and cause respiratory illnesses. So that's why we are very concerned on PM10. Did I skip one? All right, grants and incentive funding. So this is fun stuff. This is where we actually get some money and get to give it away. So those people are usually really happy with us, at least. Here's some of the funding streams that we do receive funds on annually. We have a Carl Moyer program. I do know in the past the town of Yucca has applied for some grants and were awarded grants, but for whatever reason with the vendor had to pull out of that under the Carl Moyer program. But what that does, that program is meant to replace dirty, old, emitting, heavy-duty equipment. So it's typically, like construction equipment. That's the most obvious one that the Carl Moyer has impacted over the last 20 years is like construction equipment, heavy-duty equipment. AB 2766, that's the amount of money that we collect, the Department of Motor Vehicle collects on behalf of all the air districts in California. For our purposes, we get, for every time you register your vehicle and pay your tags, $4 of that fee comes to the local air district. And then we turn around and utilize that money for additional grants, whether it be EV charging, whether it be other infrastructure needs. All these programs have different guidelines and requirements attached to them that don't make it really easy for the individual to go out and acquire it. But they are very effective. And we've been fortunate in Mojave to get more a lion's share of the grant funds that are out there available to air districts of the state. We've been very active and proactive in trying to make sure that we get as much grant funds as we can. Farmer program, that's a program that's set for replacing agricultural equipment, and there's an incremental cost of doing that and replacing those engines. That's specific to farming. Another one, Community Air Protection Program. This one's fairly new. It's been around since 2017, this legislation, and it gives incentives both to the public and private sectors that are to reduce emissions or to plan or do things to address emissions in environmentally sensitive communities or disadvantaged communities. So it's an extra funding stream, different set of requirements for it. And that is based on, you hear me mention a lot in my presentation, South Coast AQMD, they have environmental justice communities that have been selected by their board, so there's a lot more focus on those. Those are like in the ports, areas around the ports. They'll get a little bit more of the lion's share of the money because of the need is greater in those individual communities. Equipment replacement programs, same stuff. We have other additional grant funds, albeit a little bit smaller in funds, but we do give out those for replacement of older, high-polluting diesel equipment. Some more. So there is grants out there. VAVR is Voluntary Accelerated Vehicle Retirement Program that pays $1,000 if you scrap your old car. So that's still going on. So if somebody has a 1997 vehicle or older, still driving, still licensed, and still works, and you want to get rid of it, we'll give you $1,000 and it has to be scrapped. So that program's been going on for several years too. Electric vehicle charging stations. We do give out through a variety of different grant programs, infrastructure grants, and we've done that here in Yucca Valley here. We've given one to the Welcome Center. Well, one meaning there's one grant, but it's actually multiple charging stations for it. And then also the branch library, so we give them one there too. They're level 2 charging, so you can see them when you just drive down the road right here. And here's a little bit of totals. 1.3 million direct farmer allocation to replace ag equipment. I know that just, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? When you're trying to split a pot of money with 35 other air districts, that's a lot of money. We had to actively go out and compete against my colleagues to get that much money and get a direct allocation instead of having to share, say, $1 million between 22 air districts. We're getting 1.3 million as a direct allocation. Unfortunately, with the governor's budget, the way it is right now, 93, depends who you ask on which day, $93 billion deficit. This program has been zeroed out for the upcoming budget, so not sure we're going to continue to get that in the upcoming years. One of our most popular grant programs is the Lawn and Garden Residential Equipment Exchange. Since 2020, we've done almost 1,600 pieces of equipment, whether it be lawnmowers, trimmers, leaf blowers, chainsaws. Now they're allowing us to also fund replacement batteries for the ones we've already given out if they're still under their useful life. So that's been a very successful program for us. And then the 1.1 million for the Carl Moyer. Not just another air district. What do we mean by that? So my board and myself and my staff's philosophy is, yes, we're a health-based regulatory agency, but also what does that mean to the people we're regulating? So my job is not to shut industry down from coming to locate in any of our jurisdiction. My job is to help them get permits and stay in compliance. And the way you do that is you foster and you build relationships with those entities, a good working relationship. And we pride ourselves at Mojave Desert on being able to establish those with our industry. And we have some very, very large industry in our area. We're the most friendly air district in the state. We've gone around the state, and as a matter of fact, we've gone up to DC, and the amount of accolades that our district gets and recognition from federal and state leaders is amazing. So they recognize us. They recognize the good efforts we're doing. We have amongst the lowest permitting fees of any air district, at least in our region. Granted, we're a larger district, and what's not on here is the size of some of these permits that we're talking about. You heard me rattle off 64 different ones for Yucca Valley. Well, those are all considered small permits to us. We have what's called Title V, large sources, where I could have one entity that might have 150 permits just for one entity, like a large cement facility. So we work with those entities whenever they want to expand, modernize, modify. We work closely with them, and we give them a one-on-one access with an engineer. In other words, you come in, here's my application, I want a permit in your area. You get assigned a permit engineer, then each time you come to address that application, you're only dealing with one person. Larger districts, you may have to go through weeks and weeks and deal with 15 different people and talk about the same thing over and over. We're trying to cut out all that red tape stuff so we can facilitate ease for the permit applicant to understand and get through the whole permitting process. We have compliance through education. You know, we're a regulatory agency. There's a compliance enforcement component to it, but we try to educate before we go out and just enforce and write notices and things like that. That is a component of what we do, though. There are some recalcitrant applicants, and we do have to take action on those. We're required to. Our rules and regulations are less stringent than our colleagues down the hill. What does that mean? That means you don't have to pay as much fees. There's not as much red tape, and if the regulations can be less stringent, that makes it easier on your business to operate. So a lot of places, a lot of businesses will look at what are my requirements if I locate in LA or if I locate in Victorville, for instance. And if it's going to be so burdensome, so costly, and so rule restrictive, then I'm not going to go here. I'm going to go over here. And so we try to keep that less stringent regulations. That comes from those attainment statuses I mentioned earlier. So there's levels of attainment designation. So like I said, we're moderate for PM10, but if you were if you were the next level up, meaning worse, severe, then you would have to meet a lot more stringent requirements. It would really restrict what you can do in your business. We try a common sense approach, like I was mentioning. My board is very focused on a balanced approach to how we regulate our entities. We know that we're a regulatory agency, but we know that businesses have to do what they do, right? So we try to do a balanced approach, and we bring them in whenever we're adopting any new rules or regulations. We have a technical advisory committee made up of industry, public, environmental. Everybody's in the same room, and we do that before it even gets to my board members for a discussion or a motion to approve or disapprove. So we advocate a lot. And we also we're the lead sponsor of Mojave Environmental Education Consortium. They're located in my office. It's a public-private nonprofit organization which links educators and students with environmental education resources. So we're very proud of that. Every year, my district sponsors a conference and the proceeds go to fund MEEK and have teacher workshops. We give environmental bus bucks so students can go on field trips. That's always really rough for schools nowadays, being able to fund trips off-site through school buses. We give them money to help do that. So that's a lot, and my mouth's getting dry. That was my last slide. And I do have with me Marshall Haprov back here. He's my public information officer. And one of the things I failed to talk about that I would like to mention real quickly, we do have an AQI flag program for our schools. And what that is AQI is Air Quality Index, and it's color-coded for the level of pollution in the air, like green, yellow, red, green being good, yellow being moderate, and so on. We have a program where we will give the schools the flags, and they can go on to Air Now every day. Somebody at the school, they can designate who they want, and say, tomorrow, when I get to school, I go in, it's green, it's a good air quality day. They'll put a green flag up so parents will know when they're dropping their kids off, it's a good air quality day. So maybe if they have asthma or something, it's fine for them to go outside. If it's a poor air quality day, they may want to say, hey, restrict your activity or not. We do that free. We do that free. We get the materials and we give it to the school that wants to participate. We do that for free. So please let your school districts know that is available to them. Be happy to do that. And then Marshall's here. He'll be the one to come out and kind of train the staff or whoever what they need to do. And then we turn it over to them and let them run it how they see fit. And it's a good tool for students and STEM programs and things like that. So it's available to you in your school districts if you want to take advantage of that. And I do have one parting gift for you guys. We didn't come empty-handed. So I'm going to leave you some of these.
All right.
Slow down dust control area. All right?
All right, that'll be great.
So we're going to leave you guys some of these. So we'll leave them with whomever you want up here. And we brought about 10. I know that's not a lot. These things aren't cheap, though. But you guys can use these as a template if you choose to do something similar to this, and we can put you in touch with some people that can make it up. It's got our insignia on it, our old one. We do have a 30-year insignia now, but when we did these, we don't. And it has our website so you can get more information. So with that, I'll answer any questions if there's time.
Well, we appreciate that greatly. We're going through an upgrading of a lot of our road signs at this time, and that'll be something we can add into the possible areas that they would be useful. So that's great. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Is there anybody in the public wishing to ask questions or comment on anything you heard?
He was pretty thorough. I think he answered all the questions. I have one question.
Yeah. Does it need to be on mic or?
Yeah, you can come up and use the mic.
Okay.
Oh, I
don't
see.
bite. I don't
People
bite.
online.
My question is.
State your name and your city of
I'm
residence.
Frank Feldstein. I have a property at 4220 Palm Drive. And Rick Dennison was saying that they used to have brushes that they could drag so that you could make the roads better. If I put a 300-gallon tote in and plumbed it so that it sprayed on the brush to knock the dust down and possibly got something from you and videotaped it, would that be permissible for me to clear up the roads in my neighborhood?
So actually, you wouldn't need my permission for that because we don't have jurisdiction over that.
Okay.
But to answer your question, the tote you're stating does have a air quality benefit because it knocks the dust down, so it doesn't get entrained in the atmosphere. However, that said, too much water can cause a problem on the roads too if it gets slippery and slimy. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, if you're gonna do any kind of dragging and removing shrubs and just going down to bare earth, then it's beneficial to have some kind of water suppressant to keep the dust down.
Great. Anybody else have questions?
Can I make a statement?
Come to the mic, please. Has to be related to the topic. State your name and residence.
Hi, I'm Matt Wilkinson. I'm a Yucca guy. This just sort of reminds me of the Simpsons movie where the EPA is flipping, Grandpa's flipping out because the EPA comes in and destroys all business because they make all these rules. That's all I got to say. It's like The Simpsons predicted another one.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, thank you. Back to the council. Any comments?
I just want to thank Brad, and I took quite a bit of notes, so I'm very interested in some of the deeper dive stuff, and talk to you and Marshall about it. So that'll come in the future, but I appreciate you attending today and presenting this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, likewise. I thank you for the presentation, Brad. Just in my limited experience with the agency, I think we've got a very professional staff and a very professional operation. We're grateful to have them. So thank you for what you do and for the presentation.
Thank you for being our alternate, too.
Thank you so much for being here. You and Marshall do a fantastic job. Brad is very, very well respected in the air quality business industry. He goes all around the nation as well as here in California, and they rely on his expertise for a lot of these things. And he's on so many committees. We are very, very well represented. As a board member on the Air Quality Board, we're always brought up to date on the latest things that EPA are trying to bring down the pipe or things that might stifle business. As a Californian, I'm concerned, as you're talking about overregulation and how many small businesses and businesses like a dry cleaners, a gas station, a small operator can be overregulated and they can be pushed out of California. And we've seen a lot of that, and a lot of people are concerned about losing jobs and losing industry. One of the things I'm proud of on the Air Quality Board is that we are trying to strike that balance of being able to protect the public in quality of air, because we all want to breathe clean air, at the same time understanding the benefits of industry and about the benefits of the jobs that are created. So the one gentleman talked about, stifling economics and things like that. Our air quality district, which was mentioned on the board there, is very much business friendly, and we're trying to assist businesses in being compliant so they can produce without causing any kind of health damage to the area. A couple of things that have been lately have been new challenges for quality of air has been the number of wildfires that we've had in California, and the amount of pollutants that are coming from those fires. And we talked about particulates, and you can see those particulates in the air. Imagine how many particulates you don't actually see that are floating around. And so wildfires are very much a problem. It can skew the numbers. Again, it's a big event that is damaging air. And then again, Marshall and his office does a good job letting people know there's health risks on air quality and getting that word out to people, because people can die of respiratory events during those things. And then also with the new industry of some communities doing the manufacturing of marijuana, cannabis and all that type of thing, where now that brings up other odors, brings up other air quality issues. We have some major industries, but as Brad was saying, those aren't industries here in the Morongo Basin. Those are more the industries by the aerospace or the factory or the cement plants and things like that. So those are the ones where we really continue to monitor those very carefully. We do have a lot of commuting traffic as well, people going to the low desert or people coming and visiting. So car pollution, I know, doesn't fall in our jurisdiction, but it is one that can affect the quality of air. So we have commuters that are out on the roads as well. I'm glad you brought up the item on particulates, especially with like dirt roads. You saw how high the pollutants are on dirt, and you've seen in the low desert some of the dirty air just from the sand blowing and things that are going on. So those are one of the concerns, and I'm glad it happens to be our presentation tonight. As we're thinking about dirt roads, we do need to think about air quality for the residents, especially on maybe a street that has 20 homes right there, and people are driving up and down that street every day to get to and from their home. And as you know, the wind blows and cars kick up dust, and I'm worried about the health risk for some of our residents with the dirt roads. So, Brad, thank you again. It was very thorough. Again, Marshall, thank you for being here as well. And I thought we really learned a lot tonight. The one program that Marshall was talking about or promoting online and so forth is the exchange program for our residents. If you have a gas-powered leaf blower, things like that run on gas, a chainsaw, those types of things. There are programs where you can trade those in for a battery-operated one, get a deep discount, and I believe the local merchant that is part of that is right down here, used to be Bar Lumber. It's now called, I forget what the name of the business is, but it's right down on Old Woman Springs Road, and they are active in that program. So keep your eyes open for anything we say. We'll put out there saying that you can exchange some of those gas-powered lawn equipment for maybe an electric one or battery-operated one. Brad, the other thing is you have grant programs. We have a lot of turf now that we have to mow and so forth. Are there grants available for the town of Yucca Valley as we have older mowers that might maybe change to a battery-operated type of system, a quieter thing, leaf blowers as well?
Yeah, actually there is. It's called CORE, a CORE program, a state launched last year. It's commercial off-road equipment. We did get a grant for that, and we're in the process of getting pilot agencies that would like to take part in that. And if you or your public works or whomever has a large fleet, because eventually, again, the state adopted some requirements that are going to phase out all the combustion of that type of equipment. And there's a phase-in approach to that. Right now, when there's a phase-in approach, in other words, we haven't reached a deadline, compliance deadline date, the district, we can give grant funds up until the time it's required. And so we still have some, I believe the final year on that is 2026, but it depends on your fleet size. So we do have a program, so if someone is interested, they can get more information on our website, as well as the other grant programs too. And I should have mentioned that the Carl Moyer and the Farmer programs are out for solicitation right now, and I think they close at the end of March. So if you're interested, all the applications and the FAQs are on our website as well.
Okay, thanks again for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Very good. Well received.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, well, that was informative, and now a lot of you are here to hear number 6 department report, which is town-maintained road systems, dirt roads, and maintenance of dirt road policy, traffic safety policy number 5.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and city residents. The recommendation before you tonight that the Town Council receive the report, take public comments, provide directions as deemed necessary, request staff to return with a follow-up, technical and policy information, alternatives, and options. So prior to town councils have discussed dirt road maintenance and established town policies following incorporation. The town council formal policy action on dirt roads was first addressed in August of 1993. Town council policy was amended in 1994. While other discussions and studies have taken place since 1994, no further policy amendments related to ongoing permanent maintenance of private, non-maintained dirt roads have been enacted since that time. Public agency maintenance of private, non-maintained dirt roads have been ongoing discussions since the town incorporation. There are roughly 100 miles of main private, non-maintained dirt roads that are within the town's jurisdiction. The town maintains approximately 152 miles of paved roads and approximately 2.58 miles of dirt roads. The town was mandated by state law to continue maintaining the dirt roads maintained by the county at the time of incorporation. The town has not assumed maintenance of any additional private, non-maintained dirt roads since incorporation. For roads that to be maintained by the town, they must be accepted in the maintained road system. In order for these roads to be accepted into the maintained system, the town requires the dedication of the roads right away and the road to be improved in accordance with the minimum improvement level standards as approved by the town's engineering division. This is outlined in the traffic policy number 5, acceptance of roads into maintained system, that was approved and adopted by town council in August 19 of 1993. The dirt roads that are in town's maintained system were inherited from the county after incorporation. The only maintenance to non-maintained dirt roads are emergency cleanup operations during or after storm events, which is outlined in the emergency repair and non-maintained road policy that was approved and adopted by the town council in November 2 of 2000, the year 2000. So there is a few challenges that the town will encounter when maintaining dirt roads, to include trespass and right-of-way. So 100% of the dirt roads that is within the town of Yucca Valley is privately owned, is not owned by the town of Yucca Valley. If we need to maintain the road, or we need to pave a road or do any improvement to it, there is utility and private improvements that need to be relocated in order for us to build on the road. And then liability and, of course, contract services, because these roads have to be maintained. Based on the public input and subsequent town council direction, staff anticipate to continue research of various options and relevant financial risk and operation analysis. Staff anticipate to return to the council in the late summer, maybe fall, for continued policy discussion and direction. What I have here is an overall map of the town of Yucca Valley that shows that is some of the gap roads that the town through the years have been maintained. The red indication there, that was an air quality grant for the PM10 that was just mentioned in the presentation before this one. And with the grant that we received, they paved this road. This road, like, for example, Fox Trail between Mountain View and McDonald Drive, and Hillcrest Drive between SR 247 to Roberts Road. And this is like a better indication, a bigger picture that show where these roads are. There is other few roads that has been maintained paved and maintained by the town of Yucca Valley, including Malin Way, Skyline Ranch Road to Paso Los Niños, Skyline Ranch Road, Pakistan Road, Sunny Slope Drive between Pioneer Town and Sage, Pima Trail, Rabbit Trail, Kickapoo, Navajo Trail, and Joshua Drive, and Onaga Trail. So the town did identify some of these gap areas that is as we go, and we did paved, and we are currently maintaining these roads. Acceptance, the financial impact for this is that the acceptance of any roads in the town's maintained road system will result in increased annual maintenance costs and increased potential liability exposure. Financial resources beyond the town's existing general fund would be required to provide maintenance service levels that do not exist today. Funding vehicles possibility include voters-approved assessment districts, allocation of Measure Y funding, and restricted special revenue funds. So that is, the recommendation before you tonight, that the town council receive the report, take public comments, and provide direction to staff, request staff to return with a follow-up technical and policy information, alternatives, and options. And with that, we will be more than happy to listen to to the residents and their concerns. We'll take it down, and we'll try to address them as much as we can, answer any questions that you guys might have.
All right.
Let's conclude the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. If I might, Mayor, just an additional comment. As the town council reviewed their strategic priorities, received public input on your strategic priorities, one of the priorities that the town council had was a review of both dirt road and our maintained system and the policy and the framework that are used to establish how we move forward with those requests either from the council or from residents. And so this is the first in a number of steps prior to town staff evaluating various options and alternatives that may come back before the council. We thought that it would be most important and most respectful to get the residents to an opportunity to provide updated input. Not that we haven't received that already, we've received much of it, but again, to allow the public to give that input. And as Alex indicated, we'll be taking notes as we go through this process that will ultimately result in and assist in the town staff being able to evaluate various alternatives that may come back before you.
Very good. So, as you've heard, we're interested in the public's views on this, and we're going to give you 3 minutes each. Anybody that wants to speak, we hope we can keep it respectful. There's going to be difference of opinion. There are some people pro and some people against dirt roads. So we're going to hear from everybody. We want you to feel free to speak openly and give us input so that we can formulate better ideas in the future.
Leslie, before we start, could you explain the light system, what those
Sure.
mean, so people aren't caught off guard?
Sure. As Mayor Lombardo stated, that we'll have 3 minutes each to speak. There'll be a green light that comes on at the podium there. At 30 seconds left, a yellow light would come on to remind you to start wrapping it up. And then finally, at 3 minutes, you'll hear a beep and the red light, and that's your time limit.
All right, so we encourage everyone to take the time to comment if that's what you wish to do. So
Leslie,
we
do
do
you
want
want-
to have written.
Yeah, do you want to mention written or submitted comments that have been received and just how that gets incorporated into the record?
Yes, I have received several comments prior to the meeting. I've made copies of what I could this afternoon. We are available to the public here and distributed to the council for review. And those would be made as part of the meeting record.
And we know that public speaking isn't everybody's forte, so please be accepting of those that do come forward. It takes a lot of guts to get up and speak. So be respectful and let's pay attention. So anybody that wishes to start, come forward.
Mayor, we have several requests to speak this evening. First from Jason Graves, followed by James Walker.
I'm sorry, she has a list.
Hi,
State your name and
Jason
city of
Graves,
residence.
54945 Hoopa Trail.
You don't have to be that exact.
I've lived there for 13 years. And I want to talk about Kickapoo. During the past 2 years, erosion on Kickapoo Trail between Mountain View and Hoopa Trail has dramatically increased, making the surface of Kickapoo devoid of much of its sand down to bare rock. This makes driving on Kickapoo more than an inconvenience. The uneven surface and deep rock potholes endanger traffic, causing automobiles to bottom out. It also impedes emergency responders. Until recently, the neighborhood pitched in and scraped Kickapoo after each heavy rain. Now there is no more dirt to scrape. The resist request is not asking for the paving of Kickapoo. We ask that Kickapoo be scraped and the potholes filled in. So in 1991, Yucca Valley got the map, that was a road system from San Bernardino County. How far back from that map was laid out? I'm curious, but we won't talk about that right now. That timeline is interesting to me because nothing has been done about this since 1994. I think that was the last time it was brought up in any serious manner. So the town may consider accepting designated major arterials into maintained system. Kickapoo has 24 roads that feed into Kickapoo. I'm not going to list them. I wrote them down. I'll give them to you. It has 24 short-term rentals by a recent count. And let's see. I'm sorry. Time's running fast here.
Been fine.
The last couple of years, we've had an unusual amount of rain. It's really washed the heck out of that road. And I would like the town to consider making that an emergency. It's been flooded, and each additional rain is going to wash it out more. There is precedent. There was In September 2003, my neighbor Grover Dobbins had a medical event, and one of the emergency vehicles was not able to drive down Kickapoo to Baker Trail. A complaint was made, and within 2 days, the road was graded and scraped. So there's precedent for doing that. The other thing, the legal constraints, there is something called prescriptive easement in California. And as the continuous and uninterrupted use means that the use of property must be ongoing without significant breaks. And that certainly applies to that. So I've read a lot about, that we can't move forward because of easement. And I'm not sure that really applies. So in summary, let me read this quickly. Since inheriting the Yucca Valley Road map from San Bernardino County in 1991, the flow of traffic on Kickapoo has dramatically increased. Current traffic flow should allow Kickapoo to be designated as a major arterial roadway. Kickapoo in its current condition is a hazard to both automobiles and emergency vehicles. Kickapoo Trail is the only... Shoot.
You can finish up if it's quick.
I will give you this.
We got the gist.
There's more points I wanted to make.
Thank you.
3 minutes goes by fast.
They do. Thank you.
We have James Walker, followed by Mark Miller.
Good afternoon. My name is James Walker. I live at 58198 Nelson Avenue. I live with my father and my brother. We live on Paxton Hill. We've lived there for 37 years. The past couple of years, with the amount of rain runoff from the very top of the Paxton Balsa area, it is causing ruts. If I can have the town come down and at least take a look at the Nelson Balsa section at the corner, the water lines are being exposed. The valves are being exposed. We've asked the water company to come out and take a look at it. They were kind enough to come out, but they posted 3 little plastic blue strings on there so nobody would run over it. It's not going to do any good. We get propane, we get trash, we get fire trucks, we get police, we get FedEx. We do not get post office because we're still considered rural. So if we could at least, and we're for this, if we could at least have the town come down and take a look at the corner. It is becoming a very dangerous situation, especially at nighttime. We have a bunch of Airbnbs up there. A lot of people are not familiar with it. And we're at the mercy, hopefully, that neighbors have tractors that can at least try to do something, but we're losing a lot of dirt out there. So I'm here with my father to at least voice approval for what you're doing and hope to have somebody at least come out there and take a look at the corner and see if we can at least get some assistance to getting that area covered up. I don't want a water line breaking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Miller, and then we'll have Frank Fieldstein.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, bravo for bringing this subject to the forefront. It's 25 years overdue. So it's good that the town is recognizing the fact that it's an important thing, and a lot of people out here live on dirt roads, a lot of which are not dedicated roads. So I sympathize with your position because answering all of these calls for everybody that has a problem is going to be difficult. Assessment districts might be in order, things like that. So part of my notes have already been talked about by other people, so I've made copies of my notes, and Leslie has those for distribution because there are some specific ideas. But one of the things that I wanted to say is your most recent contractor that did the slurry coating and chip sealing of the roads was the best contractor you have used yet. Prior contractors, I've been here for 65 years, so prior contractors that have done that in various neighborhoods that I've lived in did a good job. These guys did a great job. So whoever that was, keep them on file. The other thing I wanted to mention is one of the places where it's probably not a dedicated road is Oldham Springs and Warren Way. When you're going north on Oldham Springs Highway and you turn right or east on Warren Way, there's a giant drainage ditch. Cars fall into it. The tow company does a rescue. Damaged cars, big problems. If it's a non-dedicated road, I get it. You're going to say it's not my problem. But what you're going to get tonight from everybody out here is a lot of this is non-dedicated, and we really need some basic maintenance. So however you can figure that out, and I know you've fixed Warren Way a couple of times under the emergency order, so kudos on that. The other thing I wanted to mention is the town road maintenance department does a great job 99% of the time. You all know that when you're on Airway Avenue next to Cal Fire, there's a hump in the road when you leave State Route 62 and you go south. There's a hump in the road, and on the back side there's a big lake. The lake has drainage, and the drainage goes to a flood control channel about 100 yards east. The tractor, or whoever is the operator of the road maintenance, goes out there about 40 feet, pushes all the dirt and the mud into a big berm, and the lake just gets bigger. What I'd like to see is you can instruct maintenance staff in the tractor is push all the debris to the flood control channel so that lake will drain. It's a simple thing, but it's overlooked every single time. The other thing is, since the town's mission statement or bylaws encourages everybody to use the side roads like Onaga or Sunny Slope because of the safe driving environment that you profess, the alleys and areas in town that are highly used but are not maintained by Southern California Edison or behind the Front Wave Credit Union, those kind of things might fall under an emergency where you can do some basic patching and get things done. I have a few other ideas on my notes that can be distributed. You can read those later. But in general, if you can figure out a way to take all of this into consideration for non-dedicated roads by either encouraging those neighborhoods to form assessment districts or forming a tax in the town that's strictly dedicated to dirt road maintenance, I think you would get a lot of buy-in on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Fieldstein, and then Suzanne Warren.
Well, I love dirt roads, and I'd kind of like to preserve what we can of them. It's sort of the wild environment of here. And I'm prepared to dedicate some of my time, maybe figure out how to do a tractor club and get some tractors to, parade through areas to get problems solved. I don't know. But I'm prepared to buy water tanks, get what's needed for my neighborhood, and I wouldn't mind going off and doing projects elsewhere if you have some sort of volunteer program that residents can opt into. I don't really want to do new taxes, but I don't mind donating some time.
Thank you very much.
Suzanne Warren, and then we'll have Casey Coleman.
Thank you for providing this forum, discussing a vital issue for us desert dwellers. I'm Suzanne Warren. I live on Jemez Trail, and Brad has just educated me tonight that I live in the Dust Bowl on Jemez. So, yes, that's true, but I also live on a road that is a riverbed with deep crevices and almost impassable. Certainly when it's raining, it is a river. So I live in the fugitive Dust Bowl, but I don't want to leave. I'm a native Californian. I love being out here in the desert. And I'm getting very old, so I have three things to bring to you tonight. First of all, access, and then safety, and lastly, the bad words, tax equity. I am concerned about my ongoing access as I approach my 9th decade. I'm concerned about the ambulance that may have to try to come up my road to extricate me if I am in desperate need of help. Such a thing happened to me in the fall, but fortunately I was down below before I had to get in the ambulance. On my stretch of Jemez Trail, no one is under the age of 65. And all of us need to have safe access. My friends don't even want to come visit me anymore because their cars are going to fall in the ditch. And I apologize for that. So it is a safety issue. Even trying to walk my little dog on my road is a safety issue as we try to maneuver all the crevices and ditches and so forth just to walk along my road. In addition, I have a question. I'm not aware that my taxes are lower than other people's in Yucca Valley. But I am not receiving a basic service. I am not asking you to pave my road. I love being a desert dweller, but I would ask you to make my road safe for all of those who need to travel up and down the Dust Bowl of Jemez Trail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Casey Coleman, and then following that with Todd Show.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Casey Coleman. I have the privilege of pastoring at Calvary Baptist Church just a few blocks north of this location. And I'm here to express concern with Crestview Drive that connects to Old Woman Springs. And to begin, I would like to ask those behind me who are present just to raise their hand as they're here to express concern for Crestview Drive. All right, these are some of our neighbors that we neighbor with at Calvary Baptist Church, and they have been expressing their concerns to me over the 8 years, almost 8 years that I've been here as pastor. And in talking to the neighbors with the rainstorms that constantly occur, they often throw up their hands and they said, "You're a young man, we've lived here longer than you have, we've tried, nothing's ever done." Well, I guess maybe fresh blood helps from time to time. I try to be more optimistic, and I said, let's keep at it. And so I was here 5 years ago after we had a major rainstorm, and I measured it, 17-inch canyons in the road. Our immediate neighbor, Roger, across the street, who's present tonight, spends hours putting Home Depot buckets around the canyons to prevent cars from falling in. And so our neighbors do what they can to try to maintain it. I think some of the frustration comes in over the years. When I was here 5 years ago previously, there was an ad in the High Desert Star that said it's do it yourself. Crestview Drive is do your own maintenance. And then we heard that it's not the city's opportunity to maintain that road, so we went to county threw it back to us. So there's been a little bit of a tennis match of just anyone who's willing to help us maintain Crestview Drive. And so we're here tonight to express our concern, as has been said, for the safety of our neighbors and the safety of those who cruise rather fast down the Old Woman Springs Road. The pour-off does go onto the highway, and I'm concerned that someone's going to come down needing to be braking at the wrong minute, and that could present a serious problem. So we've seen also delivery trucks, police officers, paramedics, elderly citizens who drive the road have hard times. In fact, we did see a paramedics 5 years ago get stuck on Crestview Drive as they were seeking to respond to a call. So you'll hear the others tonight, the neighbors. I have expressed our concern to the church. Some of our church families here tonight, and we're, as far as the grant that we've heard, raising up dust weekly, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. So maybe a grant consideration might be something to table.
Well spoken.
Todd Show, and then we'll have Andrea Staley.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Todd Show, and I'm here on behalf of Calvary Baptist Church, located on Crestview Drive. The dirt roadways in the town boundaries, despite their rustic charm, are an essential infrastructure that connects our community, enabling us to commute, deliver goods, and access emergency services.
However, these roads are susceptible to weather conditions and heavy usage, leading to their deterioration over time. This deterioration not only compromises their aesthetic appeal, but also poses safety risks, especially during inclement weather. Maintaining our dirt roads is crucial for a few reasons. Number one, it ensures safety for our residents by reducing the risk of accidents caused by poor road conditions. Number two, it gives a we care look to our neighborhoods. And lastly, a maintained road system within the town limits enhances the overall quality of life in our community by providing reliable and safe roads. The task of maintaining these roads sometimes falls on the individuals in the neighborhoods or the local government, which may or may not have the resources. One possible solution would be to create a road district in the affected neighborhoods. These road districts could pool their own resources and share in the cost to grade and maintain the roads, alleviating some of the maintenance costs. This approach would ensure roads are maintained on a regular basis and foster a sense of community and shared responsibility. We hope you'll consider the matter of improving our dirt roads within the town limits, as it is and has been for years a problem for those who travel them daily. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you.
Andrea Staley, followed by Clark Staley.
I know that guy. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Andrea Staley. I have been a resident in Yucca Valley for my entire life. I went to college for 4 years and then actively decided to come back to raise my family here in the town of Yucca Valley due to the community and the safety and the welcoming environment that the town provides. I purchased a home on Crestview quite a few years ago, and my family is currently living there. And as you have heard, it is not of standard. It is a basic need that we have on Crestview in order to have a safe environment for my 5-year-old daughter and my 16-year-old son, who is learning how to drive, and that's scary enough without having an unpaved road. We recently approved Measure Y, which was a promise to our community for street improvements, repairs, and infrastructure. I believe Measure Y brings in, a combination of Measure Y and Z, brings in over $2 million revenue into the town of Yucca Valley. Yet Crestview Drive, who is parallel to Sunny Slope, who will be a main thoroughway when the aquatic center is built, is not paved. That is unacceptable. I voted for the tax measure in order to make sure that we provided a safe environment for our community. And what is not happening is that's not occurring right now. So, in addition to that being a main thoroughway, currently right now, because people take that to avoid Sunny Slope, to get away from the traffic. People take that street to go down that road and create much dust and an unsafe driving condition. We had an accident there, which if that road was not dirt, it would not have happened. So we have air quality issues. We have, the aquatic center that's being built nearby. We have accidents that are happening. It is used as an avenue for both locals as well as tourists to come in and drive down that road. And I do not feel comfortable or safe for my children to walk down that road. And that's part of the reason why I'm here. From the town perspective, paving dirt roads creates economic development. Roads are the clothing of a town. And as long as we have an area that is so close to the center of town that doesn't have any clothing on, that is going to be an issue. And so I highly, highly encourage everyone here to consider updating the policy, putting Crestview as part of the town road system so that way it protects us. We have the funds with Measure Y, and you're continuing to make your commitment that you promised when we passed the tax measure. Thank you.
So now we have Clark Staley, followed by Sandra Brislin.
Good morning, Town Council, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to show this video to you. Pastor Casey mentioned this exact flood. This is a flash flood that appeared in our road. When this finished, it left a trench on our road. He called it a canyon, and that's not hyperbole. Several feet deep and several feet wider than that. He also mentioned our older neighbor who every day was out there trying to fill in and do what he could to fix and repair the road. But what if that gentleman had had an emergency while he was shoveling dirt, okay? This was impassable. People couldn't get to work. People couldn't, they couldn't get home. In addition to that, you can see the picture there of the flipped vehicle. Another issue we've got is local community members who treat our street as their own personal dirt track. And this gentleman flipped his truck right in front of our house. It would have hit our house or our neighbor's house, who are also here, if he hadn't just happened to hit a rock. And this gentleman had to be pulled out from underneath the vehicle. You can hear motorcycles, you can hear dirt bikes, you can hear Jeeps, you can hear trucks, off-roaders, all hours of the day. I've heard them as late as 2 or 3 in the morning. It is an untenable situation, and we would love your assistance. And now you can see it. And I appreciate your time to allow me to rant up here. I voted for Measure Y on the strength of this. I voted for Councilmember Drozd on the strength of this, and I know you guys will make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandra Brislin, and then Benjamin Staley.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing from us this evening. I'm not going to reiterate what the others said because they did a much better job discussing Crestview. I took some photographs, but I think that video says it all. I had difficulty driving to the church, Calvary, but when I drove today to look at it, I saw there's much more significant problems down the road in front of houses where there's because it's not just a dirt road, but there are the gulches, the difference in height. It's very dangerous. And I was quite surprised that there were children out in front of the houses, and I thought to myself, they could easily fall in here, and it would be a horrendous problem and certainly a dark day for the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have Benjamin Staley and then Dennis Pask.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Staley, and I live on Crestview Drive, and I really would just like to make this brief. As you saw in the video, our road conditions are poor, and I like to take walks with my 5-year-old sister, and I don't feel safe walking with her, especially because people like to race up and down her street at ridiculous speeds. And also, as someone who is trying to learn how to drive, driving up and down that road is
challenging.
It's difficult with the conditions that it is in right now, and that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Done.
So we have Dennis Pask.
Yeah, good evening, guys. I'm Dennis Pask. I live on Tish Trail up in the Boulder Ridge area. We live in an area of dirt roads, steep terrain. And as has been mentioned, the county used to maintain the roads in our neighborhood. The city annexed our area, and that was the end of road maintenance. Now, we pay for road maintenance and repairs in the town of Yucca Valley, just like everyone else does, and yet we receive no road maintenance. We've been able to over the years do a pretty good job until the proliferation of short-term rentals, B&Bs, many of whom live out of state or out of county and see no reason to chip in for road maintenance. Our last road maintenance, we have about 2 miles of dirt roads on steep terrain, cost us $2,500. The city could do that much cheaper. It's not hard to maintain dirt roads. They're dirt. And I think it's time for Yucca Valley to institute routine maintenance of dirt roads. This is how we access our homes. It's how we access emergency vehicles, police, fire, ambulance. I had the occasion a few months ago of a very exciting ambulance ride through my neighborhood due to the condition of the roads. Something has to be done here. You're making funds from the permits for B&Bs and taxes from the rentals, and the money is there to put a little bit toward road maintenance. The traffic in our neighborhood is increased dramatically. And also the Burtec trucks now, which is 3 large trucks every week who drive as if they're driving a large sports car, tears up the roads in our neighborhood and wears them down. This is becoming a real problem for us. So I am all for, let's move ahead and start maintaining dirt roads in Yucca Valley. It's not that expensive, it's not that difficult. Thank you.
John Ellis?
Good evening. Thank you for having this opportunity for us to speak. My name is John Ellis, and I'm an offsite owner at on Crestview. And I have a renter in there that called me. I've owned since 2017, and they couldn't get out of the house. It was flooded. The road was flooded. They couldn't go to work. They didn't have enough food, and they were scared. So that, as an owner, what can I do? You know, only come to meetings like this. They survived, but so that's something that I just wanted to share. Also, you know, I would be willing to get involved with these assessment groups or whatever they're called to help alleviate or start the process to get the road back to a level where then the city could take over again. It is my understanding that the road was paved when the city inherited from the county. You can tell that it was partially paved now, but it was fully paved in the 60s and 70s. And in the 90s, when the city took over, it was in much better condition, obviously, than it is now due to all the erosion. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about, it's a multi-pronged solution. I don't think it's just filling in the holes, even though they're outrageous. And in a Toyota Prius, I can't drive on that road. I have to go back way, so it's causing more traffic and dirt on someone else's road, talking about air quality, on a smaller road, Barberry. And also, I just want to say that Barberry, north of Crestview, has potholes too. So when and if we do address this, I'd like to address the side roads around Crestview, Barberry included, north and south of Crestview, not just Crestview, which is a danger, and I can't imagine dozens or hundreds of people going to church as if they were in a safari on Africa. So lastly, it's a multi-pronged approach. So it's not just filling the potholes or getting the neighbors together to fill the potholes one year. There has to be a way for engineering to look at this, to deal with how to move the water safely, though it's not a public nuisance or danger. So thank you for listening. Appreciate your support with finding a reasonable and logical and community-based solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Newman, and then Elsie Stolz.
Hello, greetings. My name is Carol Newman. I am Roger's daughter, the Roger you heard about, that Casey spoke about. So I don't live on Crestview, but my father lives across from the Calvary Church, and he is the man. He's 82. He's really unhappy about the amount of dirt and sand that he personally relocates to try and make the road safe. What also happens at his particular property is people will drive up onto his property and go around the corner on his land in order to avoid the potholes and the ruts that are so deep that you can't even drive in. And we're talking about the mailman, the UPS delivery, the FedEx, everybody. And I was helping my father find new property insurance this year. His rate went crazy, not something that an elderly person on fixed income can really jump to. And I was told by AAA that they would not insure his home because of the condition of the road.
Wow.
And that it's not safe for any emergency vehicles to access the property. So I just want you to know that this is a dire circumstance. There are many tenured residents along this road that need safe access. We have a family, we have a church, we have many other people that I'm sure you'll hear from. And something needs to be done, and Roger can't do it anymore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elsie, and then followed by Donald.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak tonight. I live on Crestview Drive, and I am 77. My husband is 86. And we are having a lot of problems with our road, as you know. We have 12 to 24 inches of gullies which could easily get stuck in a wheel. And I have to drive that with my husband. Also, I would like to take a chance to say that you've implemented us on the waste. I have 3 trash cans to take out now instead of 2, which I don't really object to. I don't mind. But I do mind that you force that upon us, and I hope that you will do something about our road because it is very dangerous. Thank you so much. Oh, and I also sent our mayor some pictures of the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Donald, and then followed by Adam Noonan.
Hi, my name's Donald Kinnear. I've been attending Calvary Baptist Church for well over 30 years, and I have seen that road deteriorate something awful. I did send in a little email with some different information about what I felt about the road there. But a couple of things that I didn't put in there was the way the road is built and sloped and all. The water not only goes down Crestview, but it also comes over onto our lower property and eats it up, and it goes down Joshua Lane and then starts going into the houses that are along Joshua Lane down there. I did put in the email that the cars that are coming up Crestview Drive off of Old Woman Springs Road aren't driving on Crestview Drive. They're driving on Calvary Baptist Church's property because it's solid there. The road is soft sand, okay? A couple years ago also, when you saw that flood going on there, it flooded our church because it wasn't properly draining down the road there. So we installed some block walls. We shut off one of our road accesses to our church because we didn't want this to happen again and get our church flooded again. So, as I said, for over 30 years, and I've been seeing it deteriorate. It used to have a lot of pavement on it. There used to be a lot of pavement on it, but that's been gone for a long time. So whatever help you could help us with, not only for the church members that come there, but also for the local neighbors. As we know, Roger's been out there a lot. There's a lot of the neighbors that are out there. We've even hired a private guy once to bring in a lot of gravel for us because it was so bad, because we couldn't get any help. He brought like 3 or 4 truckloads, and then he brought his tractor out and worked on it for us. But it really does need to be worked on. So whatever help we can have, we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And Adam Noonan.
How you doing? I'm Adam Nounan. Thanks. I am a local realtor here, and I live on Sierra Way, which is actually just up from Crestview. So Crestview, you go up, and then there's Warren Way, and then Sierra Way. And I would venture to say that that road is just as bad as Crestview. It's gotten I've lived there since 2012. I bought my house there 2012, and it has had significant erosion from rain and everything. And it also, when you go up on Warren Vista right there, so Sierra Way from Oldham Springs goes all the way, and then Warren Vista goes up to Paxton right there. And that right there, right before you get onto Paxton, every time it rains, that always washes out, and there's big old ditches that I've seen cars get stuck in. My big four-wheel drive truck gets stuck in, and we have to go around on Old Mill right there, and there's a small little section that you can get onto Warren Vista and then go down to Sierra Way or even down to Warren Way, which is also very bad. So I'm in representation of that whole neighborhood right now, and it used to be paved, from what I understand, because before they put the sewer in there, which we already have sewer and we're all connected, and now we have the manholes that are protruding above the dirt road, and they're starting to break around the edges and stuff like that. So now that creates more of a bumpy ride for us as we go down. And as a realtor, I'm going in and out all the time. Like, I'm always showing houses, I'm always having people, over, friends, family, and everything. And, a lot of them can't even come to my house because of that reason. So I just want to raise awareness to that as well. One, not asking for it to be paved, even though that would be amazing to have it paved, but at least some maintenance, to fill in. And you guys have filled it in a couple of times at the top of Sierra to Warren and Sierra, where it connects. A big crevice creates right there, and I even took pictures and sent it to the town council Instagram page, and they came and checked it out, and they told me that it was drivable and that there was nothing wrong with it and that emergency vehicles could get through it. And I'm like, yeah, wouldn't want to be a patient in the back of that ambulance if they were to. And there was a small little section there, and they have filled it in, but even since then the rain has washed it out even more. And so we have lived there, like I said, for 12 years. I've lived in Yucca Valley my entire life for 36 years, and it would be nice to have some, at least road maintenance. If paving is in the future, that would be amazing as well. I do work on the road, and I've dragged it, I've filled it in with shovels. Me and my 6-year-old son have been outside filling in holes and stuff. And it's not a pleasant driving experience, and it's also vehicle wear and tear. I've gone through one vehicle that I feel very strongly that road was the sole purpose of it failing, and I had to get a new truck. So thank you again for having us and letting us speak.
Thank you.
I have no more requests to speak here, but we may have people online.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have Gretchen Bruno. Gretchen, I have asked you to unmute. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Gretchen Bruno. I own a property off of Kickapoo, so I would love to reiterate the very eloquent speech that the first participant offered. I have owned there only since 2021. I do run an Airbnb. I really have so enjoyed being a part of this community, and have talked to several of my neighbors about how we are supposed to fix that road. Just in the last 2 years, it's really deteriorated a lot. The only negative comments I've ever received from any of my guests who've stayed have been about that road, and really they've been concerns for their own safety. So I personally love the dirt road. I really love the just the desert in general and what the dirt roads bring to the ambiance, the atmosphere, the preservation of the beauty. But the rocks that really require some off-roading at this point are pretty intense. I have definitely changed the cars that I drive while I'm there because of it. And so at this point, I do really believe that Kickapoo is a safety hazard. And so, and yeah, thank you so much for allowing me the time to speak.
Thank you. Next.
Yes, sir. We have Richard. Richard, I have asked you to unmute. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, hello, thank you. My name's Richard Lundeen. I own a property, reside in Yucca Valley. I also own a commercial property in Old Town Yucca Valley. And my issue I'd like to address is with the unpaved alleys in the commercial parts of town. One in specific is just north of Highway 62. I'm located between Pioneer Town Road and Elk Trail to the west, the block with Las Palmas and Frontier Cafe. There is an alley that runs behind all the businesses there that is unpaved. It's had two pretty major projects, a new water line installed, and the sewer lines run down the alley. Both of those are improvements to the neighborhood, and we appreciate them. Right after the project, the alley was better, but I have 14 years of experience with water flow in the neighborhood, and I lost a debate with the sewer contractor on which way the water flows. He insisted it flows east to west, where in that neighborhood it flows west to east. All the businesses to the west, Starstruck Dance School, Desert Omen, Funky Desert, Funky Vintage Clothing, they all drain to the back of the property and down the alley. And the contractor basically dammed off the water flow from companion animal clinic behind us, which created a lake in their parking lot. The solution to that is they cut a channel down the center of the alley towards Pioneer Town Road. That channel is now about 10 inches deep. So in our neighborhood, we have mostly tourist traffic. Frontier Cafe and all the other businesses in the area are quite busy. The alley between Frontier and Companion Animal Clinic doubles as their parking lot. So you have people parking on both sides of the alley, blocking traffic flow, and oftentimes making it so emergency vehicles cannot get through the alley. Also, there's no weed control by that business along the wall on the alley side, so people parking there have to park like 2-3 feet out into the alley, which also impedes the flow of traffic. So there's no traffic regulations. I don't believe it's a private road, so there's no maintenance by any of the business owners in the area. A simple grading would help, but paving would also be a benefit. And this is also adjoining the new parking lot proposed in that area for Elk Trail, just east of the old Las Palmas restaurant.
Great.
So that's going to increase traffic along that alley for people coming and going from that parking lot.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
No one else online.
Anybody else?
Matt, did you want to speak? Matt?
Please. Now's your chance. Go.
I've had the privilege of being in Yucca Valley for a long time, and a lot of the streets we're talking about now were paved in the 60s and 70s. So my question is, I guess for town staff to do the research on, when these roads in Yucca Valley were incorporated into the town maintenance program for paved roads, who made the decisions on what roads were included and which ones weren't? Because Crestview was fully paved. We lived at the west end of Crestview all my first 18 years growing up, and I drove that paved road every day. And it had high asphalt berms, and it controlled the water flow all the way down to Oberlin Springs. St. Mary's, Warren Way, Sierra Way, all the way up to Paxton. Of course, Paxton was dirt at the time, but all of those were paved in the 60s and 70s as full-on paved two-lane roads. So I don't really try to tell you anything here, but the question is, if they were paved and they were done by the county and the town incorporated in 91 and accepted the paved roads into the maintained system, just because they had deteriorated to some degree by 91, does that mean they're out? Or should we give that a second look?
The answer to that question, Mayor and Council, is very simple. The county had a maintained road list on the date of incorporation. I can provide you with a copy of that list. The roads that Mark has mentioned, and Mark, you made some great comments in your letter tonight, thank you. The roads that Mark mentioned were paved by private individuals. They were not paved to county standard, and the county never accepted them into the county's maintained road system. So on November 27th, 1991, when the county of San Bernardino handed us the maintained road list, Crestview was not on that list. Sierra Way, Warren Way, Hopi Trail on the south side, going south of Navajo, not on the maintained road list. The paved road on Douglas that went to the church at the end of Douglas was paved by the church, but not paved to the county's standard. Those roads were never maintained by the county, and as such, they were never inherited by the town.
Okay, that's an answer. It's the wrong one. It's the wrong
No,
one.
it's actually technically correct.
I understand, it's the right answer for you, but it's not what we want to hear. So,
We're working on it.
We don't always have good news to give, but we do give good, technical, accurate answers.
Yes.
And that's because a lot of those paved roads were put in when it was homesteads, and those neighborhoods homesteaded and put their roads in themselves, and it wasn't county property at the time those roads were put in. But anyway, as I came up here to say, I've been sitting here listening to people say how important it is to maintain the dirt roads, how they've mentioned several times about emergency service, and I understand that it is the town's responsibility to make sure and maintain it for emergency services. But I've also heard them say that UPS trucks are getting stuck and FedEx trucks are getting stuck. And I believe, there should be a dirt road tax put on these companies because their vehicles do more damage to the roads than any, because that's why, the post office primarily doesn't deliver on dirt roads is because their vehicles do damage on the dirt roads. So there should be a tax because it's not fair. I live on a paved road. I shouldn't be having to paying this tax because these services that they want at their house are doing damages to their roads. That's just what I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Bush. Is there anybody else? Nobody online?
Mayor and Council, as you begin your conversation tonight and questions, staff will be able to provide answers to some of the questions. Some of them we may need to do additional research on. But this is nothing new for the community. It is a priority of the council to understand the issue, and your direction to staff has been to get creative and understand what the issues are, try and identify what tools are available. It doesn't mean that the town has a magic wand and we can make all of the funding and resources and services available for every need that you've heard this evening. But there may be a number of different infrastructure vehicles, not in the sense of a vehicle, but tools that the town may be able to present to the community, and whether those are assessment districts, whether those are an allocation of existing Measure Y fund, and you'll recall that Measure Y is scheduled to sunset in 2026. So unless that is reauthorized by the town, that may provide an opportunity to allocate some of those funds for some of these needs if the policy direction is such that it's even a possibility to take that approach. But in our ability to come back to you, I think what we wanted to hear was some of the priorities from the community, for you to hear that. And then as you have that conversation tonight, I don't think there's a magic bullet that's going to solve it, but we'll take the information, take your guidance this evening as we begin to develop some of those alternatives and policies that will come back before the council and the community for future consideration.
Very good. So back to the council then, and let's hear what you can lead off.
Well, I'll start it off. Thank you very much, Mayor. And thank you, everyone, for coming out here today. And I really want to thank Roger, a lot of the work that he's done. And we've seen the orange buckets. We've heard about the orange buckets and trying to make it safer for people. So the number one thing I think about with everything I do in the town is safety. I don't talk about it much, but my career was in public safety. I worked for a fire department and was in this area a lot, and ultimately retired as a chief from here. And with that, I've lived here since 1976, grew up in Orange County in the city, so I understand the urban areas where everybody wants street lights, curbs, gutters, roads, all the amenities that make life very comfortable. Came out here because I liked the rural way of living, and that balance is very difficult. And so that's what we look at. But you want to talk about responding, making sure people are cared for in any kind of emergency that they have. Along with our sheriffs, they have the same challenges. Roads, flooding, earthquakes, vehicle accidents, hazardous material spills. I've seen it all up here in the 47 years I've lived here. And I worked here for about 36 years in the area. So those kinds of things are all real. I understand everyone's concerned. It's about public safety. So access to property by the residents safe is one thing. Access to the emergency services that many of you have talked about. We heard about Dennis up there on Tish. The ride was not very comfortable. So those are the things that we think about, providing our emergency services. The thing that I wanted to hear tonight was the importance in trying to figure out the hot spots within our community, some type of heat map that's going to benefit the most people and what I would consider the most people that could possibly become entrapped in an area, whether it's a wildfire, an earthquake, flooding, something like that, that could bring harm to themselves or their family. That's what we want to get rid of first. So at the highest level, that's what I'm looking at. I appreciate your feedback. Right now is not the time to get in the weeds for me because I want to analyze. I took notes on every single speaker tonight. I have a lot of homework to do. We've talked about this for a long time. I remember Crestview very well. Our staff, Shane's coverage on those roads that we've seen over the years that have become deteriorated that seem to be paved in one time in the past. And that was because of the neighbors getting together, wanting those areas improved. Some of them aren't even there anymore. Douglas that he spoke about, that was a paved road. Crestview, you've seen the remnants of paving. We saw it in the video today that was presented. So all those things do exist, and we realize it. But we are still in that position where we would have to go back and work on those roads. One of the things that Alex spoke about from our Public Works Director is we have to think about as we make improvements to roads of what's under that road. We have to start to think about the infrastructure that was put in there, whether it's water, sewer, power, telecommunications, whatever people put under the ground. And that's the reason some of those roads were easy to pave, to make them, because that wasn't done. Those improvements, they don't know what's under the ground. So we have some homework to do. I really appreciate your comments tonight and getting up here and speaking, both in here and online. So thank you very much, the rest of the council. Thanks, Mayor.
Councilman Schooler?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody coming out and talking about this. I think it's overdue, but it's not like nothing's been done. I guess if we cataloged all the road work that's been done to maintain the roads and the surfaces that we have in place, and also over the years creating new routes through town that were the priority at the time, but those are done, and it's clear that we need to do something with the dirt road maintenance. I think we have to, we can't just absorb all this comment and address this issue and do nothing. So I'm anxious to see, as we digest the 20 speakers' input and other factors that we need to look at in terms of rights of way and liability and utilities and how that and emergency vehicle access and so forth, that we can bring back some alternatives that we can make happen. I think Measure Y funding has been instrumental in helping us to get this far on what we've done, but we did inherit a kind of a problem. I mean, the roads were not in good shape when the town incorporated, and I know that's 30 years ago or so, but there has been quite a bit of progress on that. Anybody that's been here over time understands that, but that doesn't address things like Crestview, which is obviously a problem over there. So we need to do something, and I am anxious to look at the alternatives as staff digests the comments tonight, and hopefully we can move forward and find the funding to make some improvements systematically and have a program where we can systematically go about making the improvements we need to make. So thank you.
Councilman Abel.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. This is a topic that I brought up several times. Councilmember Drodes, a few other council members have brought it up, and I was so afraid no one would show up tonight. I'm sitting here talking about dirt roads and how we need to maintain them, or how we need to start paving some of these roads, and was afraid maybe no one would show up and back up that statement. But of course, we heard loud and clear that you are interested in seeing what we might be able to do to help in that situation. I know if Mayor Pro Tem Drodes was here tonight, just be rest assured he is either watching it online now live, or he'll be watching the tape on this, because he is also very, very concerned about the quality of the dirt roads. We cannot get into specifics. I mean, I have all kinds of ideas and specifics. That's not the time to do it right now. But I did hear the gentleman talk about, Kickapoo and about the amount of traffic that's going on that particular road. We talked about the church and having not only church services on Sundays, but 2 or 3 times a week there's cars coming and going, and those neighbors that are using those roads as well. So I do think we need to look at prioritizing those roads that are based upon use, and also about erosion, to look at those factors. I had mentioned that I was interested in getting some traffic counts on some of these thoroughfares that are dirt roads. We always do traffic counts on our paved roads to determine which roads are used more often. It'd be good to be able to do traffic counts on Kickapoo. How many people go up Kickapoo to get to all those homes? How many people are using Crestview Drive? The other concern I have, as far as Crestview, is if we did move towards a pavement type situation, is just the speed of traffic on Old Woman Springs Road. If all of a sudden that's a paved road coming right into Old Woman Springs Road, that could possibly be a very dangerous situation with that many cars using that. So I don't know if a lot of residents go down Crestview and then maybe tuck down Joshua Lane or Barberry, or use a different road to come down to the Sunny Slope that's a little further away from the downhill. So I would like to know what kind of traffic flow we have around the church and what people feel safe about. I know a lot of seniors, attend church as well, and crossing Old Woman Springs Road. I know our gentleman that was speaking, Adam, who's a realtor, knows that it can be real dangerous coming out on Old Woman Springs Road and making a left. We heard from a lady talking about her son all of a sudden getting his driver's license, and I'd be really concerned about him crossing Old Woman Springs Road. So I don't know if when we look at maintaining a dirt road or paving a dirt road, perhaps we need to try to move traffic away from Old Woman Springs Road to a more safe location that's paved the entire way, so we have better air quality and so forth. As mentioned, the reason we brought this issue up now after all these years is I think every council member knows this is a concern. You pay property taxes, just like everyone else, whether it's and I live on a dirt road. Whether you live on a dirt road or not, you're paying the same property taxes. But the reason we're able to actually look at this tonight is that we have seen an increase in some funding. So Measure Y was explained. And it's really important that we've received monies from that. And we could go through a long list of monies we've used to make those road improvements and maintenance, and how we've used Measure Y, funds for road improvements. We've also seen an increase in TOT tax. Like you said, the Airbnb industry has brought in a lot of tourism, and now people are staying in Yucca Valley for the entire week of vacation versus 1 day of visiting. So we do have an increase in that, and of course, you've all seen your property taxes going up. They assess you each and every year, and if you inherit property, they assess you at the current value. So we've seen an increase in property taxes. So we do have some funding, but we do also have to be very, very concerned about long-term commitments. To do a long-term commitment and not knowing if the voters will continue Measure Y, not knowing if we will continue to have the funds that we do have from sales tax and so forth. And we have always balanced our budgets. We've always had surpluses, and we've always been able to move projects forward. So we don't want to make promises we cannot keep. I also really think on prioritizing actual paved roads, we do need to look at from Town Hall moving out, some of those streets, some of those roads should be candidates for paving because they are close to town. It's not the outlying rural area. I think most people here tonight are saying, I like my dirt roads. I don't want to live on a paved road. I would just like them maintained. So we can maybe look at allowing more emergency funds to be used for the potholes, for the erosion, and not committing to long-term grading, but be a little bit more lenient with our ability to go out and fix those ruts. The other thing on Crestview is a problem with the water runoff. Just because we pave the road doesn't mean we solve the water issue. So I don't know if I don't think we have anywhere in Yucca Valley yet where we have a gutter system where water runoff from the roads goes into a drain and goes like you see in the city to a channel. But there's got to be some issue dealing with that because now all of a sudden we'll have a paved road that's getting unearthed from every storm. And you saw how much that water moves material. The other priority on paving should also be considered is the sewer district. Some roads have already had the sewer put in. So if they're close to town hall, the sewer's in, and there's a lot of homes, I would like to see a long-term program where we slowly chip away at paving some of these roads close to town hall that already have the sewer already in there. And the other thing is easements, solving the issue of being able to have people grant easements off their property to the town so that in the future when the water district comes in, wants to put in the sewer, or when the town wants to maintain it, or when we want to come and pave it, we could actually do it without dealing with the easement issues. So I'd like to see us look at that or have staff look into how we can deal with that as well. But again, I've probably gone into too much detail, but we do definitely want to look at that. If we do look into possibly a district approach where people are willing to perhaps kick in for some type of a road district to maintain the roads on a regular basis, does that mean that they would have to fund the whole thing, or would it be a portion of it and the town kicks in a portion because, again, they're paying property taxes? Or do we maintain the main road going through the neighborhood and all the offshoot roads that want to have regular maintenance could form a road district? So it would be a partnership between the town maintaining the main thoroughfare and then a road district helping to cover the cost of the side roads. We have a development, is it Western Hills up there, where they have a HOA. They maintain the roads up there, and they do a beautiful job. It's the best dirt roads you've ever driven on in town, and they have a road district where they have maintained those. So up there in Western Hills Estates, or Ranchos, I always forget which one's which. Yeah, up on the Mesa area is a beautiful example of how a road district can really help improve the quality of roads. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you for showing up. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, I do want to extend a thank you to everybody for showing up. It's really nice when we have participation like this. This was a subject that brought a lot of attention, apparently, and a lot of interest from quite a few community members. Just quickly, is the people in the audience, raise your hand that are in favor of a road maintenance district. Is there anybody that's in favor of a road maintenance district? Is there anybody opposed to a road maintenance district? What is a road maintenance district? Not a, whoops, 1 second. A road maintenance district would be maintaining dirt roads in a designated area supported by funds from that area. Now, it might be supplemented by the town in some cases, possibly, but it basically local control and costs distributed among the people in that area. It's like our lighting district where we have street lights, certain certain areas we have designated for maintenance of landscaping, and we have lighting, and we have...
There are any number of variations of road district, very difficult to define in generality, so I'm not quite sure what you're what you're getting at, but in terms of districts, it can be created in any number of ways.
Okay.
I think those would be some of the things that staff would evaluate,
Right.
provide options, and I don't know that somebody can answer that without knowing what that means to them.
Okay, well, maybe I was ahead of myself here. I thought it would be good for you to see if people were opposed to or in favor of trying to look at that as one of the options, and it is one of the options. Go ahead, you have a question?
You are maybe moving beyond where we are.
Oh, I am.
Yes. I think without information,
Sure.
and since some of us have already expressed that we are paying the same taxes as people who have a decent road, so supporting an additional assessment above and beyond is something that probably would be a difficulty for some people, but without further information,
Sure.
I think probably now your next step will be to really start to study this and start presenting numbers. And then we would have a more intelligent perspective on the whole thing. So when we say yes or no that we're in favor of a district, does that cost me
Don't know enough
$1?
yet.
Does it cost me $1,000? So we need more information.
Yeah, okay, I agree. All right, I'm going to try to wrap it up. What? Sure.
Can I say one thing real quick? Or I've spoke too much?
It's kind of right now, it's more for the council, but we'll give you an opportunity to speak later.
So thank
Go
you,
ahead, you had
Suzanne,
one
for
more
that,
thing.
and that you had mentioned that earlier, so that was a good point that you brought up. You're the one on Juarez, is that correct? Is that where your home is? I'm sorry, I thought it was Susan. I apologize if it's not. Someone lived on Juarez and mentioned the same thing that you just mentioned or commented on. Back to staff, I just wanted to direct to you instead of just my comments and the background, but I think I'm in alignment with Councilmember Abel, and looking at traffic counts and the use of these areas and trying to make the improvements with starting off with a plan that we can deploy and figure out what that's going to, how it's going to affect the town and our budget and provide service to the county, to the town. And that would be like with traffic counts and figure out how many homes are behind main roads that's their only way to get in and out of those areas. Kickapoo was mentioned as one. There's a lot of homes that go up Kickapoo and then to the west. We talked about a few others in town. We have some all the way along the west end that goes up against the western part of town. So those are the kind of the areas that I'd look for counts and not just the few general ones that we've spoken of tonight. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So that was that. We are now on to item number 7, graffiti abatement ordinance amendment. Who's going to take that?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item before you will accomplish 2 things. First, it provides an update to the graffiti abatement ordinance, and second, it establishes by resolution a reward for information leading to the arrest and the conviction of a person who violates the graffiti ordinance. So at your meeting back in February, on February 20th, the council received and discussed a report on vandalism and on graffiti. And the council directed staff at that meeting to come back with some updates to the graffiti abatement ordinance and also to come back with a resolution establishing a reward. The town's graffiti ordinance is in compliance with state law, and the revised ordinance that's before you tonight makes a few clarifying updates, such as it provides some additional detail in the definitions of graffiti. It provides clarification on the obligation to remove graffiti, and it lowers the time frame for an owner to remove the graffiti from 7 days down to 3 days. The town's graffiti ordinance already had a provision stating that the council could establish a reward by resolution. So included as part of your recommended action tonight is that resolution. It establishes a $500 reward for information that leads to the arrest and the conviction of an individual that violates the town's graffiti ordinance. So staff's recommendation tonight is that you take 2 separate action, one action on the ordinance amendment and then an additional action on the resolution that establishes a reward. That concludes the report. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions from the public? Anybody wishing to discuss anything online? No? Okay. Not quite the subject of interest. Back to the council then. Councilmember Dennison?
I like the item as presented. I read it over, and it meets the direction that we've given staff and meets the goals of the town, I think, to continue with a graffiti program. I'd move the item unless there's further discussion.
I would second it.
Okay.
Will you take the ordinance first and do a motion and a vote, and then do the resolution second and take it?
First. So motion and second on the ordinance? Okay.
So recommendation on the ordinance of the Town of Yucca Valley, California, repealing and replacing Chapter 11.20 in its entirety relating to graffiti abatement. And that would be the first motion? Yeah. Okay. So that'll be the first motion. We have a second from Councilmember Schooler.
Schooler.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Lombardo.
Yes. All right, second item
And the second.
would be resolution of the Town Council of Yucca Valley establishing a reward for information leading to the determination of the identity of and the apprehension of any person who willfully damages the property of another by graffiti. And I will move that.
And I'll second.
Okay.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
Mayor Lombardo.
Yes. All righty. Future agenda items? Anybody have a future agenda item? Okay. Public comments. The Town Council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the printed agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privilege. The Town Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not on the printed agenda. Is there anybody in the public or online that has any public comments at this time? Nobody in the public? Anybody online? All right, off to staff reports and comments.
Thank you, Mayor, sorry about that. The night is
My wife's
getting late.
married.
IT staff, Jordan's going to join us for a comment here in just a minute, but Captain, do you have anything for the council this evening?
Yeah, just briefly, this Friday, we are going to be using Office of Traffic Safety funding to perform some extra traffic education and enforcement here in Yucca Valley. So between 4 p.m. and midnight, you're going to see a bunch of extra marked patrol cars, and not a good time to be driving distracted, not wearing a seatbelt, or certainly driving drunk. Not that there's ever a good time, but be warned, we will be out and about in force, and they're armed with citations ready to go. So please drive responsibly.
Very good.
Thank you, sir. Deborah or Alex? Sue?
Nothing.
Yes, we have some great events coming up. This coming weekend, March 23rd, we have the Healthy Hearts Run, 5K and 2K at Essig Park with a 9 o'clock start. Folks can register online, or you can register on site there at Essig Park for that run. And then also, this coming weekend, the Metamorphosis Recycled Art Exhibit will open at the High Desert Nature Museum. Went over and saw the submissions, and they're amazing. It's going to be a really, really great show. And we will have a reception for that the following weekend, March 30th. And March 30th is also the date of our Extravaganza egg hunt, 9:30 sharp for ages 10 and under for that free event. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Sue, appreciate that. We're knee-deep in budget season, and I know that Jordan had a quick update for the council on our Measure Y program. Jordan?
Hi, Mayor and Council. Hopefully y'all can hear me okay. Just wanted to let you all know that as the council requested, oh, hi there, now you can see me. As the council requested for the Measure Y Partnership Program, we held our first workshop with potential applicants and some of the prior year partners. It was held on Zoom. We had about 15 participants. It went really well. We provided them information on the program, answered a bunch of questions. So we're hopeful that we'll get a lot of good applications this year and that they will all be ready to attend and speak to council on or around the time we adopt budget in May or June.
Very good.
That's all I had for this evening. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Terrific, thank you, Jordan. Couple quick updates for the council. We're underway with a review of the Yucca Valley Aquatics and Rec Center bids. Super excited to get 5 bids, a process that we go through in evaluating those bids and qualifications. We hope to be able to be back to the council in April with a recommendation to move forward. And then lastly, these types of conversations that we had tonight are never easy. They're not easy for the policymakers. They're not easy for staff. And quite frankly, they're probably not easy for the residents either to come and express some of their concerns. But they're important and they need to happen. So I think 2 things that caught my attention from the council comments today, and one was the importance of Measure Y and the importance of the activities that it has already provided to the community. You've heard that from the residents this evening. And then I forgot the other one, so I'm not even going to talk about it. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mayor and council member reports and comments. We'll start over here. Councilmember Schooler, nothing? Councilmember Abel?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I had a question on the partnership funding for Measure Y. How much money is going to be set aside for that amount? I don't know if Jordan's still there or if Curtis has the answer.
There's currently 100,000 that we're preemptively planning for the partnership program, and then we'll have some flexibility as the budget is approved and adopted through the process over the next few months.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dennison?
No comments tonight. Thank you very much for coming out and helping us move forward on one of our items for the road maintenance.
All right. Well, it's really nice to see such a turnout for tonight. And this is what it's all about, local control. People coming and speaking their minds and getting what they need from the government that's closest to them. So we've got our homework to do and got to investigate the best way to get this accomplished, but something obviously can be done to benefit the community, and that's our priority. Safety and access do seem to be paramount. So we need to look into that and find a fair way to do that. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and that will conclude tonight. The next regular meeting of the Yucca Valley Town Council will be held on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. here in the Yucca Valley Community Center Yucca Room. Thank you very much, and good night.